can step back, you know, when a new group of people come to a community, you can step back and just watch what happens. I wanted to do more than watch what happens. And it's how I got to a place of having Hmong gardeners on my land, on our land, family land. It goes back to me as a child. I was a farmer's child, farmer's daughter. We worked the farm all summer long, almost all winter. We worked with the animals. But my dad and my grandpa chose a path to become organic farmers. Then we became more involved with the land itself and how to take care of the land, how to fully heal it and help it, as well as have good quality food for ourselves. Always raised a garden at home. My mom did, us kids helped, we lived off the garden. So when the monks came to the community, Walnut Grove here, it was Daub Lee, I think is her name. It was her mom who first asked if she could garden here. I knew the kids from school very well, and the kids asked, and you know, I didn't see any harm in it. I thought it would be a really good thing to do. We had the land. They wanted to garden, and if I lived in town and had the opportunity to garden and wanted to garden, I would be happy to pay someone, you know, someone's land to garden on it. So that's where it started, and one family led to another. It also happened that new people who, new to country people who were so used to growing their own food, really needed to grow their own food and continue doing that. It wasn't just a want. It isn't just a want by the people, it's a need. They need to grow the mustard greens that they can't grow. I mean, they can't get other places. They need the peppers. They need the other vitamin and mineral rich crops that they're used to growing. They need the type of corn they're used to growing. They don't grow an American type of corn. They grow a corn that's very sticky. They need the sugar cane. They use things for healing and for drinking that we don't commonly use, but I've learned from them. I've learned to eat squash blossoms, which they're prevalent in the gardens and they taste really good. You see lamb's quarter, using lamb's quarter as a green and not being scared of it. Different things like that they've been here all my life and I've never eaten them or used them for food. Learning that and just teaching me what to do with this sort of food or that sort of food, how to make it into something edible, and how to eat the greens, different ways to cook greens, different ways to use the eggplant, different ways to use peppers. Squash is a very big crop for the Hmong people. They keep their squash all winter long. It's a different type of squash than we're used to growing commonly in the United States, but it's a huge part of their diet. It's cut up and cooked in lots of water and used as a drink, which tastes good, full of vitamins and minerals. Not something we would commonly do, but I've gotten accustomed to the taste and accustomed to you know, the taste and the concept of using it. Tomatoes, very few tomato plants. Maybe one gardener will grow 2 to 4. Nothing like, you know, I'll grow 20 to 30 of them and other people will, but very small on that. Peppers, very high on growing the peppers, and like I said, the squash, the melons, the cucumbers, corn. A lot of times it's fun to watch the corn because a lot of gardeners will plant it in the square around their garden, so their whole garden is enclosed in this beautiful wall of corn, and then the squash will grow in and out between the corn, and it's quite beautiful looking. Very nice. And when the corn's done, the corn will get chopped off at the stem and then put in a pile and left to either get burned up or to, you know, compost on it. So we have little roads out there so people can get to their gardens. Some friends put definite fences around their gardens. Many people have started to dig a canal so that the water runs away, which is very efficient for the gardens and for the land.
How many gardens are there out there, roughly?
roughly 30 to 35 families are farming. It can look, I don't know, it's a small village. It just makes me feel good just to see people taking care and believing in what they're doing. Sometimes a person can farm a quarter one year, and maybe the next year something's happened in the family or something. They can't farm at all, but they ask if I can hold their land and let somebody else do it, and we can do that times. Try to work around a person's schedule and what the family needs are. Everybody's growing, everybody but one person is growing for themselves. Yeah. So, and then the person who's growing for farmer's market is incredibly clean, straight rows, everything's lined up, measured. Wow. His garden skills are incredible, and his work ethics just wonderful. He really believes in what he's doing with the garden. So he would be the only one that's working to market his produce. There's families who grow food for other families, though. I can think of a lady who's growing, 4 quarters. She's got an acre of land, which is substantial for one person, and then she has some children who help her. But she's growing for family in the cities. She's not just growing for herself, and she's not the only one. Come fall, there'll be families from the cities who'll come down and fill up the back end of their pickup with produce that their family has raised for them, especially the squash and things like, and cucumbers and stuff like that. Just the big viney stuff that can't be raised in a small patch. So yeah, we're not living in a bubble here. We're not living in the Walnut Grove, Tracy bubble of Hmong people. We're living in the greater area of Minnesota and Wisconsin, where they do things for their family. But traditionally, when I would garden, I watered everything. I took a hose and sprayed and watered everything. Most of the people I see here, they take a can or something like a can and just water the one plant and take their time and only water, just feed the plant. They don't feed all the ground around it. What I've learned to do is the same thing. So we're talking late hours and early mornings, somebody all the time. On weekends when there's parties, people, don't garden much. We just talk. We don't. And use short sentences and short words and hand gestures, and using the plant and showing, stirring, or use, salt and explain what salt is to each other and putting that in, or some oil. And oftentimes there's a student there, a child there who can interpret it between us. One thing I found that's really helped out is cell phones. So a gardener would call the family member, a daughter, or a daughter-in-law or somebody who speaks English. So she'll talk into the phone and tell her what she needs, and then I'll get the phone from the daughter and I'll hear what the gardener needs, and then I'll talk to the daughter and tell her my response, and then the phone goes. But I'll tell you a good story. When people get sick in a family, or when my kids would get sick, I would treat the one sick person. Right, in this one household, there's 13 kids, and one of the kids got sick, got kind of a flu and upset stomach, and their mother treated the whole family and made a rice. It was more liquidy rice with a little something in it that would help the child who was sick. But everybody accepted it in the household, that because one was sick, they all needed to eat this special food, just needed it, because otherwise everybody could get sick, and then you would have a worse, so to speak, epidemic on your hand with 13 kids in the house. We're getting more and more cross-culture. The biggest influence is Hmong egg rolls. and that doesn't cilantro taste that we're not used to. But that's the total biggest influence that happens between the two cultures. The kids who aren't Hmongs and the adults love Hmong egg rolls. It's gotten to the point where I don't even, sorry, Chinese egg roll people, I don't care to eat a Chinese egg roll because the Hmong egg rolls are so much better. There's not, I've made lots of Chinese egg rolls in my day too, but it's just, there's such a good taste in them. When the grocery store, along with other groups in the community, went ahead and did a new mural on the outside of the grocery store, and it has Lauren Goes Wilder, which is Walnut Grove's claim to fame with her books, and then it has the like the sad house and the creek and a bridge, but incorporated that into that is a Hmong girl and a Hmong boy and the clang, some Hmong instruments, and there was a real resentment during this this whole Facebook thing that they shouldn't, they should have asked other people, they shouldn't have put Hmong in there, and this different stuff, and it got to be that, and the person who started it didn't even spell Ingalls right, so people who were said back to him, this isn't even your building, people, and why should they ask you? You don't even live here anymore. Hmong is part of our community now, it's part of our culture, it's part of what we live with now, and it's, if it's not for the Hmong, we don't have Walnut Grove anymore. And those people who don't accept that yet are behind the times. We have to accept that. We have to accept that in order to have a school, in order to have something as simple as a grocery store in town. It's run, owned and run by two Hmong families. And that's the only way we would have a grocery store here. If Harry and Terry weren't here, and the Hmong community that decided this was a good place to raise families, if they weren't here, we wouldn't have a grocery store. But in the community, if we could hold on to that thought and know that new people came to our community because it was a good place to raise a family, that gives me pride in our community, and I'd like others in the community to be able to see that and share it. We're not a subculture of a culture. We're not two separate cultures. We're one culture binding together. How to get involved? I just kept talking to kids and talking to people, and saying hi, and saying hi as much to everybody as possible. Don't exclude the non-Hmong and don't exclude the Hmong, and try to get them to work and talk together a little bit. So we've done some things. For a while we did language in the halls where we would put hello up in English and then hello up in Hmong and different words like that. It's learning to be part of this greater community, a micro community in Southwest Minnesota that can't happen in the cities because groups can be so much tighter in a metro area and not have to interact so much. So now we have to interact because we're so much closer. The pressure's there, but family pull is very, very strong. It's pretty much a simple statement, I know. But there it is. Going to college, very much becoming doctors, dentists, people who are higher up in the sciences, that they can speak for the Hmong community and they can help Hmong community out because they can speak Hmong. So there again, it's getting the higher education, and it's also working for the community. We see, there's people who not so much come back as stay or go away to college and then come back and help family out. Family who's paid for them to go to college, so they come home and help family out so that they can help send another sibling to college, and then they'll go out and find a job after that probably. But it's always family helping family. If a student has a job, if a high school student has a job, maybe the money they're making may go back to Laos and support a family member who's chosen to stay over there. Otherwise it may go to helping your siblings, paying your siblings' way to college. And some people leave and then come back, which their elders are very happy to see. Some people never want to go because they really believe so much in the shaman. And I know the families that are a bit more liberal, we'll say, and those who are a bit more conservative. Not a bit more, who are totally conservative and want this culture to stay as this culture. And if you marry or have dealings with those families, you know also what you're getting into when you move in that. The sad thing is we're going to lose too much of their culture, and that's a given. Anthropologically speaking, we can't keep it within our society because we're just too much of a melting pot. We're going to keep some of the good things and we're going to keep some of the bad things, and some things are just going to disappear. There's things like the soup set are so well liked that won't change them. I don't see the eating of rice going away. That's part of the society and the culture and stuff.